are hopefully rolling, recording live at the X-Ray Production Suite. Welcome to another episode of the Klyph Notes podcast. Available everywhere you get your podcasts, Spotify podcasts, Apple podcasts, literally everywhere you get podcasts. You can check it out. Also, check out the website, djklyph.com. I don't know when this episode is going to release,
That's
but
right.
if just to run down some stuff that I want to make sure that people are looking forward to. December the 5th. I'm gonna be in Eugene at the U of O, the 11th annual UO hip hop situation. Forgive me, I can't think of the name of it right now, but I have an opportunity to support Versatile on that event. 11th annual is really dope that they've done this situation. It's free, student run. So there's a link on the website. Also, December the 29th, J-Rock, Beat Junkies, DJ Extraordinaire is going to be here in Portland at the White Eagle Saloon, and I get an opportunity to support Versatile on that one. And of course, check me out every fourth Sunday at the White Eagle Saloon with DJ Ambush for No Requests, and every Saturday night right here on X-Ray FM for Welcome to the Neighborhood. And then just everything else, just check me out, djklyph.com. That's going to sound really loud when I edit this. DJ Klyph on social media, and then if you haven't yet, be sure to follow me on Bands in Town. That's the tool that I've been using the most not the most, but I've really been using to let people know where I'm at, what I'm up to. So check it out. It's free, obviously, but Bands in Town, you get updates every time I'm posting something new. Got a bunch of stuff that we are getting ready to announce for 2025, specifically for No Requests. So want to make sure that everybody is up on that. Okay, now that all the business is out the way, man, once again, this is the Klyph Notes podcast, and have an opportunity to sit down and chop it up with Jimmy of Jimmy's Jambox. Bro, like, it's so cool to be able to have a conversation with somebody whose journey I feel like is a bit similar to mine.
Yeah,
yet
definitely.
To see where you are with what you've done and what you've built, and then pieces of the story that I'm somewhat familiar with, and some of the stuff that you shared with me, but definitely want to dive deeper into it. But I think just first off, bro, I want to start with the podcast with Jimmy's Jambox. So once again, thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
You know what I'm saying? As a guest on your podcast, I think that it was really kind of you to reach out and invite me to be on. I'd seen posts that you'd made of other guests that you've had on, people who I'm familiar with, people who are in my circle of influence. I have to stop hitting the microphone over the years, but for people who may not be familiar with the podcast, first off, just talk about the podcast, talk about Jimmy's Jambox, what it is, and how it really got started.
Yeah, definitely. So again, thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate this.
Yeah.
So the podcast, it's a one-on-one or one on up to 4, depending on how many members in the group, interview in real time where I sit down and I talk about people's stories in music, their journey through it, really. So like what got them into it in the beginning, a little bit of what they do with it now, and then I usually wrap up with hypothetical questions because they're fun. I started it because I needed something to do, is the shortest version. I didn't start it originally with interviews. I was doing it was basically my own radio show. I would pick out 14 songs a day and I would play them. I figured out a way to actually have them on the episode, and then I would talk about them. So I'd share why. So it wasn't like a red button, green button, is this good or not? It was, these are cool songs and here is what I experienced from them. And I did that for 99 episodes. I started at 5 days a week pretty much. And for my 100th episode, I got a little bored. Thought it'd be fun. So I brought my old, my keyboard player on, and that was interesting. It was the first time either of us had ever done anything like that. Yeah. And then I had my friends on a couple more times after that, and I realized nobody cares about me and my friends. We are not interesting in the world of listening. So I had worked at Guitar Center. I do not work there anymore, but I had worked at Guitar Center for like 10 years. So I'd made a few friends who were musicians. So I asked a handful of them if they would come on the show. Let me ask them questions.
Yeah.
So in February of last year, I did like 4. In March, I did like 9. And then from April onwards, it was 20 plus. And then in June of last year, I switched over to video, dropped the radio format because YouTube is a little more particular about music. And then just kept doing it ever since.
Yeah. It's crazy, bro. So, a couple things to touch on. You said on the 100th episode, you brought in your keyboard player. So that means that you are a musician.
I am. Yeah, I've been playing bass for like 16 years. And then I got into engineering like 12 years ago and kind of picked up all the instruments. But bass and talkbox are probably my main two.
Oh, word.
Yeah.
So engineering, then, are you just engineering for yourself? Are you running sessions for other people? Or?
Before I moved up to Oregon, because I'm from California originally.
Okay.
Before I moved up here, I was getting into recording other people. So I had a space. I had a handful of really good equipment. I was really like digging into that. But then when I moved up, I didn't really want to work on rebuilding a clientele. So I started kind of working on music for me, and then took a sidetrack and got into cars.
Okay.
Pretty late in life, a little, and I didn't grow up with them, but I was at an age in life where I didn't have any debt. I didn't have anything kind of sitting behind me. So I bought a cool car and learned how to work on it.
Yeah.
Because I wanted to learn how to kind of do that.
Yeah.
And then I ended up hosting a weekly car meet for 2 years.
Oh, word.
Yeah. And actually it got respectfully big. So that was a lot of fun. And then I got the bug. I started making music again. And then I started probably what I think is my favorite band to be in. And that went great until COVID. And then, COVID.
Yeah. What was the name of the band?
Smooth Talk.
Smooth Talk.
Yeah, we were electronic funk rock.
Okay, word.
Yeah.
Word. It's interesting. I had a chance to I'm trying to remember. I guess it was last night's episode of the radio show. I was talking to Love Jones.
Oh yeah, shout out Love Jones.
Yeah, man. And we were talking about today. We're recording this on the 17th of November. They're celebrating their 7-year anniversary of A Beat Happening. And talking about some of the things that they built and the plans that they'd made, and the growth that they had to a point until the pandemic, and how that really it changed some things, but yet they were able to keep it going. But I bring that up to say, it's funny how the pandemic is sort of I know for me it's a checkpoint of, was this pre-pandemic or was this post-pandemic?
Yeah.
But then I think it's also interesting to find how people made a shift, especially in things that, we know how it impacted people in terms of their employment, but people who have things that they're passionate about and how they were able to navigate that. So when you look at where you are now with Jimmy's Jambox and the impact that the pandemic, or did it have any impact on this journey?
So in a way it did. It didn't directly lead to the show.
Yeah.
And, just to touch on a quick side point, just since you brought it up, that has actually been an interesting thing I've learned through doing the show, is how many people found creativity through COVID.
Yeah.
The only silver lining to come from it, really. But getting back to answering your question, it did not lead to me doing the show, but after COVID, when because I moved to Southern Oregon for a little bit, did not love that, came back up here, and now I'm up in Vancouver. And when I got back up here, I was living by myself, and I had to really I had a room full of music equipment at the time. I have since traded it for interview stuff, but I had so much stuff, and I was trying so hard to make music, and it just wasn't clicking. No matter how hard I tried, I couldn't get the right people in the room. I couldn't get the right sounds to come out. And so that's why I say Smooth Talk was really my magnum opus. And so through doing that inevitably led to the need to do something. I love music. I love creating. I love it. I kind of started the show so I could keep my hands in engineering. Because I just wasn't doing enough with it, and I needed to do more.
Gotcha.
And so I was listening. I listened to so much music all the time that I had the idea, it clicked in my head one day when I was driving to work through a conversation I had with a friend of mine that I was reliving, to just talk about the music I was listening to in the moment. And so I went to work, and definitely on my breaks, I figured out how to get music on a podcast. And then I went home, grabbed a laptop, an interface, and a handheld mic, went sat on the couch in my living room and recorded the very first episode that day. Had the thought, put it together, went and did it. And you can go and listen to it on Spotify. It is really bad. It is so bad. I thought I could pull off a late night smooth voice. That is not my voice. I have too much animation. So but I did it. And after I did it, I did one more. I started on a Thursday, so I had a weekend off. I kind of formulated what I wanted to do, and I kept doing it from there.
So one of the things that's interesting to me is, and I don't know that I've talked to a lot of people about this, just about the way we consume music today,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm an old head, so it's different.
Yeah.
And then being in the position that I'm in right now as a curator, it's different
Mm-hmm.
because when I was younger, I was able to just really sit with music
Yeah.
over and over and over and over again. But there's so much that comes at us now. I find that challenging. So when you describe the idea of wanting to sit and man, shoot, 14 songs, bro, that's a grip of size. That's an album, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's a real album, not an EP.
Actually, that was a bit an album's worth of music a day.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? So did that come from the way you listen to music?
To a degree. So I had been fortunate enough that I've, especially when I was doing music, my keyboard player and I really kind of valued the listening experience. And even prior to that, people I've lived with, I shout out Dan, one of my best friends, and James, one of my other best friends. And even the guy I do car stuff with, Casey, like they all value the listening experience in a really special way.
Yeah.
So music is always being appreciated in some way, shape, or form, whether it's playing very loudly while working on stuff, whether it's sitting down and like experiencing a new album together. Me and my keyboard player used to get together every Sunday, and we would bring a grip of songs to each other to show.
Yeah.
And like, it was either like, hey, I like this, I want to show you. Hey, I think you would like this, I want to show you. Or I don't know what it is about this track, and I need to figure out if I do or don't like it, and I want your opinion. So it became kind of a discussion in a ways, but it was like we would sit there, we'd listen to the whole song, we wouldn't say anything, and then we would kind of like just talk about it.
Yeah.
And so I've always made time for albums. I've always made times to like figure out, like, the new Tyler album came out. I had to wait a whole week to listen to it because I needed the right space to listen to it.
Yeah.
But to curate episodes for the show, I'm fortunate enough that my job allows me a little bit of listening time. So every minute that I am not doing something where I need to be talking to a person, I have one headphone in almost exclusively, and I'm always listening to something. Every day on my way to work, I put on a new album I've never heard before. Like you said, the way of listening to music has changed, but that just means you can curate it around your life better. Like you can make space for music if that's what you want to do.
So interesting, bro. Yeah, it is cool that we have the access to music now the way that we have it. We can get it literally no matter, well, I mean, as long as you have some way to get a signal, you can listen to it no matter where you are. So I think that that's a blessing. I just know that, and maybe it's just the position I'm in. So much music is coming.
It's
at
overwhelming
me to repurpose.
Yeah.
That, like, I have not listened to the Tyler album yet, just because I haven't gotten to it. You know what I mean? But I think that it's cool that you found a creative way to share that journey with an audience. Prior to doing that, were you a podcast listener?
No, actually, I did not listen to a podcast for the very first time until 3 months into my show.
Okay.
Because I just, just full transparency, I didn't love interviews growing up. Like I had a hard time connecting with them because they would always ask questions I wasn't interested in. They'd always ask like style questions or like lifestyle questions or like, what, you just bought a new house, what are you doing with, like, like I always wanted to know about the music. Like I wanted to find out more about their process, more about how they do it, what, like the things that interest them, the things that excite them, literally anything other than just what is your main influence. Like that, that's the one question that got asked every time. But I just didn't really connect with them. Now I listen to almost exclusively comedy podcasts, just because I grew up, I kind of raised myself on comedy, and so that's like the one space that I kind of enjoy them in now. But even still, it's I'd rather be listening to music.
That's so interesting, because that is one of the questions that I wanted to ask you was, when it comes to the way that you set up your interviews. Where that comes from, because I just think about, I feel like I have been influenced by people who I consider to be good at doing interviews. Right. And so, and then you take that and you put yourself into it. Right. But I wanted to ask you, like, so where does that style, because you have a very specific you've described it. It's a very specific style that you have when you do your interviews.
Yeah.
Where did that come from?
So I mean, some of it is just me wanting to know stuff. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
these are all questions that like I have wanted to know my whole life.
Yeah.
So like the questions themselves just come from my genuine curiosity through all of time. Everything I wanted to get out of the interviews I didn't get.
Yeah.
I guess really I don't have like an influence as far as like a host would go. I've just always been good at talking. I like to converse with people. I think the art of the interaction of conversation is something that can be enjoyed in a lot of ways. It's something that can really make an experience more enjoyable in every capacity. And so really it's just, I just like talking. I just like hearing people. I like knowing more about, especially music. Music is something that I think I've always been really blessed to be in spaces that like talent wise wouldn't have got me into, but my charisma for it, my want to be there and my excitement when I am, I think that has really put me in a lot of doors to like have interactions with people in ways that wouldn't have. It was just, if I had to send in a tape with me playing, not to say I was bad, but I'm no virtuoso, but I've been in the room with people who are just leaps and bounds more capable than me in so many respects.
Yeah. It's funny because that's one of the things that I have always prided myself in when it comes to doing interviews is that I do have a genuine interest in people, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
The people that I sit down with, like I'm literally interested. And mind you, the way that I do it and why I do it is different maybe than somebody who does this for a career. So I could see where for someone who we know as a host of a show, how it can become maybe old hat to them, and they have a whole team of people to help them get information and write the questions and this, that, and the third. And when you're just doing it on your own, the perspective is a little bit different.
Yeah.
I listened to an episode where you talked a bit. It must have been the episode where you were interviewed.
Oh yeah, with Camille Tredu.
Yeah. And you made that statement that like since you were a youngster, like you always liked to talk.
Yeah. Oh, very much so.
Which definitely plays a part in bringing content out, right? When you're doing an interview with someone. But I think one of the best, in my opinion, gifts that an interviewer have is active listening. And you also have that. When you listen to your interviews, you give people space to express themselves. You give them space to answer the question. Are you mindful of that, or is that just a part of how you move?
So I have to weirdly shout out my parents for that one, because growing up I was not. Growing up I was very energetic, just off the walls. Like every instance was like not in like a bad way. I had a lot of energy and I didn't know how to direct it. So they, at a certain point, they kind of, they were often bringing it to my attention. And so as time progressed, I have actively instilled into me the ability to like, I need to stop talking. Not so much in the like, oh God, I'm boring people, but like I want to know more, and I don't get to know things if I'm the one saying all the things. So the ability to like just kind of close my mouth after saying something and let people get their whole answers out. It's something that I really value just on a personal level, and being able to like translate it into the show and let that kind of exist is just, it's kind of brought me a little bit of peace as well.
Yeah.
So yes, I mean, in a way I am actively thinking about it in real life all the time, so that by the time I get to sit down and talk with people about something they're passionate about, I want to hear the answers. So I don't want to interrupt. I want to try, like if I have something that like to say in response that I think is animated, I'll add it, but I really want to like not say something, because the answers that I'm getting are almost more important than the questions themselves. Like what people have to say is really interesting and exciting to me. So I want to make sure that I'm always creating that space for people to speak, because that's the point.
It's so cool to hear you express it that way, because I think that everyone doesn't have the it's not at front of mind, right? As we're moving through life, we're excited about what we have to offer life. So I think I appreciate you. I appreciate you sharing that for real. I did an interview with local sports writer, Danny Meringue, and he is on FM sports station now, or AM sports station now, and we were talking about the gift, the skill that it takes to be able to sit down in front of a microphone. Different from when you're doing an interview with someone.
Yeah.
So when you share the beginnings of Jimmy's Jambox, when it was you and a microphone, just being able to talk, it's not as easy as it looks.
Very much so.
I mean, to
Very
not
much
just
so.
be I'm just talking,
Yeah.
but like to talk about, a topic, to be able to be engaging, to keep people, interested in what
See, that was actually that. I had a harder time thinking of a topic than I ultimately did like going with it, because that was the conversation I was reliving that led to it. I was down in California for a wedding, and I was visiting another friend of mine while I was there, and him and his now wife were like, Jimmy, you should start a podcast. And growing up, I've gotten the whole, you have a radio voice, you should do that. And so when I was talking to them, I was like, I can't just make a pod. Like, what would I talk about? And they were like, you could talk about anything. I was like, that's not how that works.
Yeah.
So when I finally came up with the idea to like what to talk about, and then eventually massaged it into the concept that it became for a while, that made it almost easier because I had a direction. Now it was just figuring out a format, figuring out how to like do it consistently, and then just making sure it was something that kept me, I guess, engaged is the word I would use. Like it was something that I never had a hard time putting effort into, because at a point where it almost wasn't effort. And I even remember the moment where like I knew this was it. Like I knew I was moving in the right direction. I was in the like early 100s, and it was like 2:30 at night on a Tuesday night going into Wednesday. And I had to be at work the next day, and just nothing was going right. I could not get this. I couldn't get my parts done. I couldn't get the edits right. Nothing was sitting. And in my head, I acknowledged the situation and went, I should hate this right now. This is not, nothing about this is going to equate to good in just the consistency of life.
Yeah.
But the only active thought that I could acknowledge, the one that I like knew I had to do, was just, nope, I just need to get this done before I go to bed.
Yeah.
That was the only thing. So I kind of had this almost like out of body experience of like acknowledging that the situation should be this way, but 0% of me felt that.
Yeah.
And that was kind of the moment where I was like, oh, I'm moving in the right direction.
Yeah. That's what's up, bro. So we need to touch on something right quick, bro. You just said it was like in the hundreds. I don't know if people realize, bro, you got like 600 some episodes.
610 as of Friday.
That's crazy to me, yo.
Yeah.
That means you've interviewed 500 people, 500 some people.
300 people.
300 people.
Yeah, I've done over 300 interviews.
Okay.
Yeah.
Even that, like I think this is episode 170 something of Klyph Notes, and I've been doing this for a minute.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's still huge.
Yeah,
that is.
yeah, but
Yeah.
So you release episodes
5 days a week. Yep, Monday through Friday.
Bro, that's a lot of work, yo.
Yep, 4 to 9 interviews a week.
And it's a passion project.
Oh yeah. I don't have any income from the show itself.
Yeah. As you're going through, and a little bit of behind the scenes for folk, especially anybody who might get a reach out from Jimmy, or might be interested and connected with Jimmy, your organization process of invitation, sharing information about what a potential interviewee may expect. I mean, it's so well organized. When you consider the work that goes into the process, seeing the great what we see that you put out once it's completed and it's done, it's so well done.
Oh, thank you.
That work that goes into doing that. Do you have time even to go, yo, like, bruh, I don't know, man, this is a lot of work?
I mean, there are I'd be lying if I didn't say periodically there were times where I was just like, ugh.
Yeah.
But not so much in the like, I'm tired of this. It's just my body sometimes does not want to stay awake as long as I need to.
Yeah.
Like I've fallen asleep at my desk before. I've woken up at 4 a.m. to start, an upload because I was waiting for an export to finish. But really, no. I mean, the honest answer is that this whole process, this whole experience really fills my cup. It's something where like being able to sit down with a new person and talk about music every day is a gift. It's a joy.
Yeah.
It's something that I find I'm very blessed to be able to do in the capacity I do. I'm very good with formatting. I'm very good with templates. A lot of my stuff is somewhat pre-prepared so that when it comes time to put it together, I can put the effort into the actual part, like really paying attention to making sure that the message gets across clear, really making sure that the people show up knowing what to expect in the ways that they need to. I don't overshare the whole process. Some of it, you've experienced the opening conversation.
Yeah.
And then, even like leading up to the episode coming out, like I don't do a lot of social media stuff because I care more about the interviews being good. I care more about the episode coming out on time. I care more about making sure that the message is clear. So to not take away from that, I choose not to do certain things. But in total, I kind of love all of it, and I basically plan to do this until I die.
That's what's up, bro. It's funny because you just said something that really resonated with me. So anybody who who might be watching this, got a couple cameras set up, and I've done some stuff in this space with some cameras. If you look at past episodes, but I gotta give some props to Tope. He was somebody who, in particular, talked about having listened to some episodes of Klyph Notes, and during the interviews was like, man, I would really love to see the person you were talking to.
Yeah.
And I would do like video clips when I had artists on the radio show, this, that, and the third, but just trying to make an effort to figure out, well, how do I do that video capture? And being a consumer of music and a consumer of interviews and podcasts, this, that, and the third, you see that is a large part of the population. That's how they consume this information. The whole idea of doing this, I think similar to what you do, if I can say that, correct me if I'm wrong, is to provide a platform for others, right?
Very much so.
So, you want to put people in their best light, and you want to make sure that you're representing people the proper way, and you want to put them on as big a platform as you can. So, say all that to say, like, you're almost forced to do this. Bro, it is. I said this before I turned the mics on, bro. It's a headache for me to try to figure out doing, especially when, like yourself, like it's your team, the Jimmy's Jambox team is Jimmy.
Yeah.
And
well, except for the showcases, I do have to shout out D. Dwilly and Moody Pax. They help with that part.
We're gonna get to that in a second.
Yeah.
We're gonna get
but
to that in a second.
And as far as the show is concerned, it is me.
Yeah. So being able to go through that process. Like I'm still, like I said to you, bro, I'm still trying to figure it out. What's a good angle? What's good lighting? This, that, and the third. Because I've always just been focused on this part of it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So my question is, going through that process, how have you found the look that not just the sound, but the look that you have for the podcast?
Really gonna be forcing my hand on this one. So I don't know a lot about video. That's the honest answer. I have learned all of it through the show. I film a YouTube series for a buddy of mine who, Casey, who does the car stuff. So I picked it up through that originally, and then needed more hands-on. So I kind of started integrating it into my podcast when it was just audio only.
Yeah.
But like really, it's just, does it look good? So I decide a lot. Like I learn a lot as I'm editing. Yeah. So I'm like, okay, I didn't like the lighting on this. I got to change it and see if it makes a difference. I didn't like this angle on this. I need to change it, see if it makes a difference. I didn't like, I like the way the room looks, but could I do something different? And then, through now that I have experienced a handful of them, I don't like do too much to like recreate what anybody does. But like if I'm like, a couch does look more comfortable than chairs. Like the room feeling nice probably makes a difference. And then periodically you get to see those behind the scenes shots when they show you. I'm like, oh, I didn't realize that this is just a corner that they like put some stuff up. Right. So like, I made the whole room comfortable because I thought that that's what it was until I realized it wasn't. Yeah. But I mean, as far as just like how to make it look, it's all just trial and error. And periodically, if I'm fortunate enough to sit with somebody who knows a thing or two, I try to ask a question.
That's what's up, bro.
Yeah.
So you mentioned it a second ago. You mentioned the showcase, and again, one of those things that I know about, but I don't really know about it. So what is the showcase?
Yeah, so it's actually it's Jimmy's Jambox Presents. I thought it'd be fun, and it is come back. I wanted to do it way in the beginning when I first started video. My very first video episode is not actually an interview; it's a live performance. I was doing a segment I called Jambox Live, which is think Tiny Desk, but anywhere but the desk.
Yeah.
So I did it in a garage. I've done it in a skate park. I've done a single song performance on a yacht. I've done them in a fort. Like. Everywhere.
Yeah.
But the showcase Jambox Presents, it's really just a way to bring people back. Like, I've talked to so many people, I've done over 300 interviews. I would love to see them make music and, and to be able to capture it is something that's really exciting to me. And so basically it's a real show. So it's at a venue. It's all in one night. It's a real performance, audience, bar, bands, like rap and hip hop, whatever, like we design it as. And it's an event, and I film it. I film the whole thing, and I try to stay as out of the way as I can, let it happen in real time, and then all of the sets become the Monday episodes for the following month.
Got you.
And I really just, it's something, right now we're doing it at Misfits Bar and Lounge. And it's something I've always wanted to do. Like the live music element is something I eventually want to integrate into every episode. Like think like late night shows where they'd be like, all right, now a performance from, I want to figure out a way to bring that in. Granted, I don't have a big enough space in the space that I use currently, but eventually I want to make that a thing where it's just part of it. It's just so much harder to do on a daily scale. But the showcase is really it's a show. It's a show once a month. We try to do the third-ish Saturday of the month kind of thing. And I did a couple last year, really figured out a lot at a Shanghai Tunnel Bar, and the first one was all bands, the second one was all rap and hip hop, and then this time we were going the other way. The first show was rap and hip hop, and the next one's going to be all bands, and then we have the next like 5 or 6 mapped out like stylistically. So like we have some people in mind that we want to reach out to that have been on the show, a couple of people that haven't that I'm going to try and get on so we can get them a performance. But it's just it's a way to showcase music. It's a way to be like, hey, these are the people I talk to. Here's what some of them do.
That's what's up, bro. Going through, when you think about all of the interviews that you've done, is there not a question of good or bad, but is there an interview that stands out, or maybe a handful of interviews that stand out? So as an example, when people oh yes, you got what's Klyph Notes about this and the third? Where should I tap in? There are a couple of interviews that I've done where I say, oh, like look for this interview. Have you had that, or are there interviews that you feel like that was that's one that will resonate with me?
So yes and no. Like really, just because I do so many, like I'm always kind of moving a little forward in my head. So it's hard to call back on the 300 plus interviews, not all of which are video. Some of them are just audio, like the one with Terry from Music Millennium. That one was incredible, but it's audio only, so it's like it's a hard one to point to now. But there's really, I just tell people to check out any of the last 20 to 30 episodes. So like anybody I'm pitching the show to is to get them on the show. So I just want them to be familiar with the format. But I think every interview really offers something. And what's nice is that you can't judge it based off of the time. That's something I say it in the beginning of every opening speech. I'm like, look, there is no time limit to these answers. Say 2 words, say 200 words. Just answer openly and honestly to share your story. So like it is hard for me to call back on any of them. I do. There are some that are like fun for like reasons outside of the interview, like episode with Oblé Reed up in Seattle. That one was fun because we did it on the dock of a lake. Like in the middle of his downtown in his hometown. And that was like something where like I had to coordinate from a trip from before. So like going up to, that was like the second time I went up to Seattle. And so to organize that and then have the original spot that was recommended fall apart, and then to end up with this one that was really cool, like, you know, it's outside. It's in the middle of this like park where people are just walking around. The kayak post goes behind us at one point. So that's really fun. The first interview with Titans of Industry, that was really cool because they did a single song performance like in their garage, but it was the first like full band one I'd ever done. So that was really exciting. The first tuned in episodes were really interesting. And I mean, all the tuned in episodes are probably one of my favorite, where I sit down and instead of doing like just a like get to know you interview, I break down the album. So whenever people put out a body of work, they, you know, if they've been on the show before and it hasn't been like just, it needs to be a little window of time for their first one to permeate.
Right.
But if they put out an album, there's usually an invitation for them to come back, share their work with me a couple weeks early. I make notes, kind of like I did in the original format, and I break down my experience of their song and then ask questions about the process. So those are like, I mean, I guess I said favorite before. That is just a part of the whole that I really enjoy. But I mean, in a way, every episode is kind of my favorite because it's just a way to add another experience. It's a way to cumulatively add more to the shared knowledge within music, which is really what I want to come from this.
Yeah, that's what's up, bro. When do you ever have a thought of building into the team?
Yes, I mean, I have definitely I had someone helping me for like the mid 200s to mid 300s.
Sounds so crazy.
Oh yeah. But shout out Cameron. He was a huge help. Without him, I wouldn't have been able to move into video. And so that was a pivotal thing. You know, I have D. Dwelly and Moody Pax helping me with the showcase now, which is integral. They do so much to make, like, the things that they are able to pick up and carry are the like things that just would have broken my back otherwise. So like they are, without them, the showcase does not happen appropriately. And I mean, you know, it's hard because my workload is so strong. It's so much that like I wouldn't really be able to kind of source out the editing of regular episodes. And even the showcase episodes now, like, it's just, until I have a better vision of it, I don't know how to like hand it out off to someone else. But even like the outreach is hard because it's you know, it's so much as well. So it's like, it's something where it's like, no, I need to be on topic because I need to know what's happening all the time. So in a way, like, unless I moved into a place where it was like, this is a building, this is a business of sorts, these are the windows where we'll be filming the episodes that'll come out for the next X months. It's hard to really bring anybody else in because I just feel it's unfair to burden somebody with the volume because because the show doesn't make a lot of money. I don't have a lot to give either. Right. So I don't want to be like, hey, sacrifice as much time as I do out of your life for my thing. Right. And then so it's just hard.
Yeah, I get it. I asked that I mean, it's a real question because it's a question that I've had, you know, through my process over the years, and I know what's taken me in one direction or another, and I'm just curious if it would be similar for you. When you talk about episodes, you know, you mentioned Seattle, that component. I want to dive a little bit deeper into that and what you have an opportunity to present to your listeners.
Yeah, thank you for bringing that up. I actually just recently started a monthly trip up there to a studio up there named Undercast, which shout out to Undercast. Those guys, Isaac and Randy and everybody who works there, just phenomenal. Such a cool spot. They've been up there for like 28 years. It's like, it was a house, and then Isaac moved into a different house and converted the whole thing into like a multi-room. I think it's like 4 or 5 like full room studio. They've got like a bunch of instruments. They've got all kinds of gear. And they're just so passionate about it. And I was fortunate enough to connect with them. They reached out to me because I had interviewed people from Seattle. I went there a couple times last year, and then I've had people from there come to my studio and do it. And so we connected, and they were just like, hey, we love what you're doing. Is there any way we can help? And I was just like, can I, if you know a space I could do it? And they're like, well, we're basically a 24-hour studio, so coordinate with us. You can come up as much as you want. Wow. So now I go up basically one Saturday a month as well. And I try to film enough episodes to where they come out on the Friday of every week now. And, I'm about to do my third one the weekend after next. So I'm really enjoying it. It's so cool to be able to expand up to there, because Seattle is connected to us in a lot of ways. It is just it's an easy trip to go and do a gig. And come back. And so to be able to learn more of that area and find out how much music is the same and different in a lot of ways up there, and just meet new people and like kind of go through the motions again of like not everybody knowing about the show and having to like dig in a little bit and be like, no, look, this is what I do, this is what I'm interested in. It kind of reaffirms like the joy of the process in a weird way, because it's all new for me, and it just, the way they approach music is so different. The way that they see it, the way that they hear it, the like spaces that are up there. And so it's cool to be able to kind of enter in a new area and find out more about music differently.
When you describe what you're building, there's maybe a better way to ask it is, did you have a vision for what you wanted Jimmy's Jambox to look like?
In a way. So like when I first started it, obviously I did not think it would be interviews on YouTube. I thought I was just going to do kind of the radio format thing forever. And then as time has progressed, like I have ideas. I have like things that I could want the show to be, but I try really hard to live in the present of what it is and just figure out the next steps from there. So like I have potential 5-year ideas. I have potential, well, I guess 2.5-year ideas now. Like, my benchmark goal is episode 1,000 for like what I want for myself, like the things that I need to iron out before then. But not so much because I want 1,000 episodes. I want to get good enough. I want to be able to be strong at interviewing. I want to be able to have a message that stands through time. But as far as like the end goal, there isn't one. And it's the opportunity to be open and available to whatever happens with it is the things that I'm more excited about. So like for me, it's like my real focus is, do I have an interview today? Yes or no? And if it's yes, did I do the interview? Yes or no? And if it's a yes, then I succeeded. I am in the moment for that. But I'm always trying to think of what are the next things I can do. So like this next thing I can do, can I do it? Yes or no? And if the answer is yes, when do I do it? If the answer is no, how do I make it a yes? And I just keep approaching that. And as time is progressing, I'm slowly integrating more things in. I'm not afraid to try things, I think, is the biggest part. There are plenty, like you go and watch my first video interview with shout out Quegman. We had to do it 3 times because just stuff kept not going right. But it's still there. It's still out. And I mean, there are plenty of episodes where like something didn't work, or like, that just like I just didn't love the way it was like presented on like a format side. And then just periodically I just flub a sentence, or I don't say something quite the way I want to. But I feel like I'm running away from your point a little bit. I'm sorry.
No, not at all. Not at all. Because from the outside looking in, one of the things that's cool to me, and I look at it through the lens of a consumer of what you're doing, but then also as a fellow creator, I see, think about what you're breaking down, right? So you got Jimmy's Jambox 5 days a week. Okay, now we're doing sit-down interviews, one-on-one interviews. Okay, now we're going on Mondays. You're gonna get a little bit of this.
Yeah.
Okay, now on Fridays you're gonna get a little bit of it. And like you are creating this, this product for your listeners and your viewers to tap in and get like really cool different things that are a part of this bigger thing. And I've always thought that sort of idea, building this, for lack of a better term, building this business or this organization or this idea that is encompassing of many different things, to kind of hit people where they are. So that I think is really cool.
Oh, thank you.
That that you're doing that and doing it in a way that still, like, you can still see the root and the foundation. It's all what you've done, but you're presenting it in different ways. I just think that's dope.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, no, I think that it's, and I guess kind of touch on what you said. Yes, as a business, it is a difficult thing to pull off because there's so many elements, there's so many factors. Yeah. But what I do is not a business. Mm-hmm. What I do at the moment is, like you said, it's a passion project. Yeah. But even further past that, it's something that I made the conscious decision that this is just what I'm going to do with the rest of my life. Mm-hmm. Like I don't, I'm not going to make $1 billion Spotify money like Joe Rogan. I'm not a doctor. I don't have like a graduate degree in anything. And I'm pretty sure I'm not going to have kids. So what I choose to do with the rest of my life has to be a decision I make at some point. Yeah. So to be able to find this, to be able to figure out that this is something where I can give back to the most important community in my life, which is the music community. Yeah. I'm more than willing to just kind of give all of my life to that and hopefully leave behind something that inspires people in a way that creates a space where music got to exist honestly and with the sake of sharing. And I think if people are willing to just kind of, because music is that way. Music is very much that to be successful in it, you can take as many routes as you want, but to be successful for yourself in it, to be like to feed the soul that is the person, you have to love it in ways, like you have to love it in ways that almost make you want to hate it, but then you have to love it more. And so to find something like that, because like I said, I've always been in music. I've played for a long time. I listen consistently. But to find a way for me to exist in music that stays really true to who I am, but gives back more than it takes 100% of the time. I'm blessed. I am thankful to be able to do this because it's something that I think I'm not trying to like set an example. I'm not trying to be like, oh, if you do what I do, but I want to do it. I want to do this and to be able to do it and to have so many people come and be a part of it and only ever growing with more and more people and more experiences and to not really have any kind of negative result because of it. It's only encouraging. It's only supportive. It's only inspiring. That is more than enough. I could never make a single penny off of this and I'd be fine with that because what I get to give to music is almost equivocal to what it gives to me. Yeah. And that is a gift. That is something I'm so blessed to have.
It's so powerful, bro. That's so powerful because I think that's one of the things that that I'm learning even still as a person, how we identify success. You know what I mean? People can look at what you do and put their view or vision of what success is and try to match it with what you do. And if it doesn't meet their definition or standard of success, they don't see that as successful. But at the end of the day, that's not what it's about. Yeah. Right. You're doing it. You're fulfilling what you feel is your passion. And maybe I'll speak for myself. What I feel like is my purpose, on this planet. So I appreciate you saying that because I hope that resonates with people, understand that success is not everything that we've been told it is. Yeah. You have to look for, as you're moving through this journey of life, you have to look for where does that satisfy your soul, and let that be at least a part of your guiding light.
Well, I think you used the right word in that last sentence. Satisfaction and success are not always congruent. They're not always linear to each other. Yeah. But like the pleasing of the person and the pleasing of the presentation, the importance is entirely up to you. Yeah. You know what I mean? So that the cool thing is that there is no real wrong answer. Like you can want to achieve this, you can want to achieve that. And if you're doing it, then you are hopefully satisfying yourself. Now that is a very, it's a very deep concept. So it stays individual. Yeah. But like, and I, having talked to so many people and having experienced them tell me what is their version of it, like what they look for and why they look for it. That has just really opened my eyes to the fact that there is, getting into it now, like there's no roadmap to any of this. Right. Like even the things that we see people do now doesn't work the same way because the rules are different, the settings are different, the things that you have and don't have are different for everybody. Right. But I've gotten to talk to people who make a ton of money doing what they do. I've gotten to talk to people who don't make a bunch of money doing what they do, and their energy comes the same. Yeah. And even further past that, I've talked to people who, when I hear their music, I'm like, oh my God, like this is incredible. How? Right. Or like people who are newer in music, and I'm just like, I get what you're doing. Like, and I try my very best whenever I have conversations with people to not, even before and after, to not be like, look, here is my input on your experience. Instead, it's just, tell me about you. Like, I now know the music. I listen to the music before the people come on the show. Connect the dots for me. What am I hearing versus who's making it?
Right.
And that's kind of, I'm sorry, I'm tangenting to a certain degree, but to circle back to it, the measurement of success, it's all made up anyways. So the ability to do what you want is something that I think that if you can take the opportunity to do it whenever it's available, then you're already winning in a way.
Yeah.
And I heard this on something I was listening to yesterday. There was a guy who, he was like, when he was younger, he wanted to be a mechanic, and his dad was like watching him do it, and he's like, yo man, this is not for you. And then he went to go do stand-up comedy. Like, his dad paid for him to go to college. He's like, this won't work. Go to college.
Yeah.
So while he was going through college, he went and tried stand-up comedy. His dad went and watched him. And afterwards he like went to see his dad, because he hangs out with him. And his dad like was like just kind of looking at him. He's like, hey, and he was like, hey dad, I think this is what I want to do. And his dad was like, well, then you should do it now, because life only gets more complicated.
Yeah.
Like, what happens next will only add more. But if you're going to do it, you need to do it full on. And so that I just share that to kind of attach to this now. Like, this is something that I have finally found that I can do full on.
Yeah.
And I think that everybody has something they can, their purpose, as it were.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry, I'm rambling now.
No.
Turn it
But
back to you.
all of that resonates with me, bro, because I believe that, and we've talked about it before. The idea of giving people space to express themselves on their. It's a very, very simple example, but I have an opportunity to interview people on the radio, and sometimes interview those same people on the podcast. And like you said, you have to operate within the rules of those situations. On the radio, there's certain things that we can't say. On the podcast, there are certain things that there are more freedoms in this format. And just providing people the opportunity and the platform to do that. Yet I've said it before, having this platform to hopefully be a positive influence on people who I invite into this space, to create in a way that can be uplifting, that can be supportive of, that can be inspiring to. I think it's all a part of it. It's all a part of. It's just all a part of, I think, a lot of our purpose on this planet.
Very much so.
You know what I mean?
Very much so.
Okay, a couple more things.
Yeah.
Being on this side of it now, you've done 300 some interviews. Now you're being interviewed.
Yes.
I know what it felt like to me the first time that someone interviewed me, especially in my space. Doing the interview with you, it was interesting. I don't know if I probably didn't tell you this. So doing the interview with you, being more comfortable in that, being on that side of the microphone. Went home, watched the interview. My wife and I just celebrated 30 years of marriage.
Oh, congratulations.
Thank you.
That's amazing.
Together for 36 years. Watching the interview, she's looking at me and like, I didn't even know that about you. You know what I'm saying?
Wow.
So you having, so two things, I guess now. One, I think that goes to your gift of being able to provide that space for others. But being on this side of the microphone, how's it feel?
Well, first of all, thank you for sharing that. That is that makes me feel really special. It's interesting because I have a lot of conversations beforehand. People usually ask me questions beforehand. So in a way, they interview me in small doses.
Yep.
So I've talked a lot about these kinds of things. I've like these questions per se I have not answered, but I've answered many questions in my time. Yeah. But like knowing that the mic is in front of me, and having interviewed so many people, they have definitely shared their like, oh my God, I've never done this before. I feel like it should feel stranger than it does, but
Okay.
like you and I have a great rapport. I enjoyed our before and after on the interview, as well as the interview itself, obviously.
Yeah.
So in a way, I feel pretty comfortable, I guess, because I just like, I'm so used to having a microphone in front of me after, 610 times.
Yeah.
I like being able to share. I like being able to hear things, and I try to gate myself so much on the interviews themselves. So having a chance to actually say a little bit, it feels kind of nice.
Yeah.
Just because I know I'm not taking up other people's time.
So that's actually a perfect segue into the another question I wanted to ask is, so being on this side of it now, people have had a chance to hear you, see you for many hours.
Yes.
But do you feel like there's, and I asked this question to you because I think if I was in this place and you were asked this question to me, I honestly don't know how I would answer it.
Oh, now I'm excited.
Is there something that you feel like, okay, now that I got this, this platform, this is the thing that I want people to know, or this is something I've always wanted to say, or this is a part of my journey that people that haven't really gotten it quite correct. So let me,
I don't think there is in a weird way. Like I'm fortunate enough to be able to share my experiences when they come up in the conversations. I was blessed enough to have Camille interview me on my show for episode 500.
Right.
But I don't really have like a narrative. You know what I mean? I think that's the hardest part. Is like, for me, it's like the episodes kind of cover everything I want to share.
Wow.
Because it's the journey in music that's important. Like, and I mean, I touched on plenty of it in mine, but I wouldn't really have like a specific thing, like, other than just, I appreciate this moment because I do like to let people know that I care about this. Like, I'm very proud isn't the right word. Like, I like the numbers aside, like, I don't care how many episodes I have. I don't care how many watched hours I get.
Right.
The joy that it brings me is what I want people to know, because this is not, I'm not saying you guys can go and do exactly this and feel exactly this, but to be able to find something that is something I was able to create that shares with more and more people every single time and lets me give back to the thing I care about most. I just want people to know that I care about it, that it's important to me as a process, not a product. Like, I don't like to use the word content. I don't like to use the word product even. Like, I love the experience in it. I'm giving a little piece of my soul to every episode, but it gives so much back to it that I'll never run out. And that is something I hope everybody gets to kind of find for themselves, and not in like a preachy way, but like in it took me a long time to find this. I have not been successful in many things I have tried. And in even the things where I found joy, I didn't find a way to satisfy in the sense that it made me want to keep going for longer. And then the things that did, they always fell apart due to outside sources. So to finally have something that is just a gift, like I can never stop calling it that, to finally find something that I enjoy. I just want people to know that I love doing this so much that by people coming in and being a part of the show, they are giving so much more to me than I ever feel like I can give back.
Yeah, no, that's dope, bro. I asked because I know that for me, it was feeling honored and privileged to have a radio show, to play other people's art, and to do interviews that led into Klyph Notes, to have those longer conversations, to really, as you described, tell the story behind the art, to have the live platforms that I've had to put people on stages. All of those things have always felt like a it was, like I said, it was an honor to be able to do that. But then creating a podcast where I can just like, all right, this is me. Like everything else that you've seen, yes, is a part of me, but this is because I don't want to get in the way of that person that you really tapped in to hear from. Yeah. But I love what you described. Like you're able to add that through the journey, add pieces of that through the journey. You asked me a question on during our interview that I couldn't answer, and I've thought about it since then, and I still don't know that I have an answer. But I'm going to ask you this question, same question.
Yeah.
If you had your opportunity to interview Or is there anyone here that you haven't had an opportunity to interview yet?
I mean, there are plenty of people here that I have not had an opportunity to interview yet. And that list kind of grows in an interesting way as I meet more people.
Right.
Just because, unfortunately I don't get to get out much. I'm doing this so much that like, if I go to 3 local things a year, that is, I've done a good job.
Right.
But there are plenty of people, the most requested guest I get is Win.
Of course.
Yeah. Like that every time I'm like, hey, who would you guys want to hear?
Yeah, Win. I need to do my next episode. No, I'm tripping. You know what? Actually, the Win interview of Klyph Notes was filmed right in this space.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Man, that's awesome.
Yeah. Anyway,
but like, she's somebody I've gotten requested a lot. I would love to sit down with Tylilu, just because I in my early music experiences, I was surrounded often by Filipino people because my guitar player and my drummer were, and so like I've done Thanksgivings with them. I kind of resonate with the culture in a fun way. But also I love his delivery. His sound is cool. Yeah. His passion is cool.
Yes.
I tried to reach out to him long before the Tech Nine thing. But he's somebody I would like to get on. Milk.
Yep.
Is somebody who
I still haven't interviewed Milk.
Yeah, like I've tried to reach out to him and his manager. And then, I mean, outside of that, there are people like Sage Woolley. I would love to get him on the show. I just really like his sound. And there's so many more all of the time. Like Aesop Rock lives here. Portugal the Man is here. Those are big artists, but like I have a love-hate relationship with the idea of just interviewing the biggest people, not because I would not want to sit down with them. I would love to have them answer the same questions everybody else has.
Right.
I was fortunate enough to sit down with Oblate Reed, who is now doing respectfully big things for the Seattle area. But I don't want somebody on the show just because they're big.
Right.
I want everybody on the show because it's music. It's because everybody is a part of it. And so I think a lot of people would enjoy hearing their answers. So that's why I want to get them on the show. But on a local level, it's also fun for me to find artists that I have that are not connected in any way. Like my outreach is pretty broad because I'm always trying to get everybody on. So in a way, like, yes, those are all people I would love to get on the show because they've either been asked for, or I just, Aesop Rock is just somebody I really enjoy his music. But in a way, I would as many people as I can. Like, I have a pretty hefty schedule to fill anyways, but I never know when I'm going to hear something that's just going to like change my brain. And so the more people I get to talk to, the better. Yeah.
I appreciate that, bro. It's interesting because I do have a list. I have a physical list on a spreadsheet of people that, and most of it is people who I've talked to and be like, yo, we just got to sit down and schedule and finding time that works and this, that, and the third. It can become challenging. So, but I would not that you need my encouragement, but I would encourage you, bro, just stay on the path. As I've gotten to see what you're doing, as I've gotten to spend time with you in the process, and knowing the impact that it has had and it can continue to have, I just want to, again, encourage you, bro. Like, keep doing what you're doing, bro. Like for real, keep doing what you're doing because, as an artist, as a music maker, I'm sure you had the experience when I was making music. I remember what it felt like to just give me a shot. And I always said, having these platforms, I felt like if I can give somebody that shot, my small little platforms, but if I can just put you in a place where somebody might hear that can help you get to where you want to get to. So like, just keep doing your thing, bro. For real.
Thank you, man. I appreciate that.
Yeah, absolutely.
One thing that I think is really rewarding, because yes, like obviously we as people who have a platform are for people to experience people. But what's really special for me is that because I'm not so particular about the specific moments, like if you've done this, if you've done that, what's really cool for me is that everybody that does an interview, with understanding that the internet will hopefully stay around forever, it will always exist.
Facts.
And so eventually some of them have to blow up. And that I'm not trying to ride the rise of that, but what is really cool to me is that when they do, somebody will find them for the first time and like hold their music really special and want to know more about them. and they're going to find the interview.
I think about that often.
Yeah, and they're going to get to learn about them on like a genuine level of interest, not just trying to make clickbait or trying to like capture this specific topic to the moment. It's all kind of timeless. So to be able to share that in a way that, you know, the younger or newer people to an artist, they'll get what I didn't.
Right.
And I'm going to do that as much as I possibly can. And that's just really special in a lot of ways.
That's what's up, bro. Yeah. I mean, this was dope.
Yeah, no,
this was dope,
this
man.
is really cool. Yes, this is my first time I've ever been interviewed outside of, you know, my platform.
Oh, word.
Yeah,
that's what's up, man. Well, I am grateful that you took the time to do this. And you talk about releasing 5 interviews a week. I know how busy you are.
Oh, yeah, I made all the time for this. I was so excited. I just, you know, from an individual to an individual, I really respect what you do. I think you have a great energy. You have a great platform, a great passion. Ooh, a lot of peas. And just it's inspiring to me because you are somebody who has been doing it in your own way for a very long time. You were kind enough to share your story on mine, but you know, I at the end of the day, I've only been doing this for 2.5 years. Like I am still an infant in the world, regardless of the number. I still have so much to learn and experiences. I have so much to learn from just life happening around it. So to be able to, you know, share your space and like, especially seeing how many people have been on your show that are incredible in so many ways. Like I'm blessed and I'm honored to be able to come and be here today.
That's what's up, bro. No, you're definitely a part of the journey, man. You really, really are. So if people are hearing this for the first time, I just want to be sure that they are aware of the many ways that they can tap in. So let people know how to tap in.
Oh, yeah. So you can find me on a few platforms because I don't do too many, but Instagram at Jimmy's Jambox. On YouTube, it's youtube.com/@Jimmy'sJambox. I have Spotify as well, but they recently yelled at me for having music on episodes, so I had to appeal to them to get the channel back, and that was annoying. So I'm on Spotify, but I mainly stay on YouTube because that's where you'll be able to experience everything. And that's really about it. I don't cast the widest net when it comes to social medias, but just Google Jimmy's Jambox with an apostrophe S, and that should pretty much take you to everything.
That's what's up. And then for people who are physically, geographically in the area in terms of live events.
Yeah. So like I said, right now I'm hosting them at Misfits Bar and Grill. Usually it's like the 3rd-ish Saturday of every month. And so that's really kind of the place to go for that. If you're listening from the Seattle area, I usually go up the 1st or 2nd Saturday of every month, and I try to reach out there. And just I'm located in Vancouver, but I do a lot with Portland. I've had a handful of people from Eugene now, a handful of people from Seattle even. So the Pacific Northwest is really, I'm available if anybody wants to make the time. I will make the time. I do interviews Monday through Thursday at 6:30. I do every other Saturday or every other Sunday, and then I don't have a lot of free Saturdays anymore. But I'm always, if something needs to happen where it's like, hey, we're coming from, you know, a faraway state, we can only do Tuesday at 3. I'll talk to my job. You know, I mean, I'll make the space for it. But yeah, I hope that answered it well.
Yeah, absolutely, bro. Once again, bro, thank you so much for what you are doing. Thank you for being a part of this journey with me, and just thank you for pulling up.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. I really enjoyed this.
Absolutely. Jimmy for Jimmy's Jambox. Appreciate you,
Yes,
Doc.
sir.
For real. All right, y'all. So that's it. That's another episode of the Klyph Notes podcast. Once again, it's available everywhere you get your podcasts, Spotify, Apple Podcast. Check out djklyph.com or klyphnotes.com. Also on YouTube, hopefully this video situation is working out. I'm trying to learn from this cat and everything that he's built, but I'm going to try to do more video content as well. Remember to check out the website, djklyph.com. Follow me on Bands in Town at DJ Klyph. And yeah, man, just stay tuned for some more great episodes of this podcast. Thank you to X-Ray FM for hosting this recording of the Klyph Notes podcast. And last but never ever least, big ups to the homie Theory Has It for creating the official theme song for the Klyph Notes podcast. So we have an opportunity to do this again. Y'all be blessed. Peace. And that